I have arrived to piss off Reddit. I have gotten the most joy this season from just being so right compared to the fan base being so wrong. It's been very fun. I gotta tell you, I have had a hoot of a time. And I'm gonna get to some live feeds going on here in a while from the last 2 days, recapping both Monday and Tuesday. But first, I'm going to talk about why the Cookout is the new most successful alliance ever on the show, and it is no longer the Brigade. Now we could go into opinions, but I'm not just going to go into opinions. I'm going to bring the numbers, going to bring the actual statistics to prove it. And as with this goddamn show, Big Brother US, I mean, this is all we could talk about with BBUS is which alliance, which big alliance, or which dominant alliance has been the most successful, because that is the way to play this game, as boring as it can become. But the one thing that some fans are hanging on to try to say that the Brigade is still the best alliance, unless basically the whole alliance of the Cookout makes it to the final six, is ridiculous. The Cookout has already surpassed the Brigade statistic wise. The technicality that everyone is using is not taking in the fact that there's another technicality that needs to be used when doing this. We will begin talking about the Brigade on Big Brother 12. And it was a four-person alliance, four dudes, for white dudes, really. And the thing that everybody is saying why the Brigade is still the best is because they got to seventh place as a four before somebody went home when Matt Hoffman went home seventh. And speaking of Matt, he's another one that could cry about it. He wanted some recognition early in the season for coming up with the concept that the Cookout has perfected. Possibly not perfected, but still evolved into a more better game than the Brigade. But see, what people are not taking into account is the number of players in that season. Big Brother 12 started with only 13 players. Now, taking into account the week that Matt, or the round that Matt went home, he went home when there was still 54% of the players left out of 13 going home at seventh. And after he was gone, there were still 46% of the players left. Meanwhile, the Cookout, as it stands after this week, there will still be 8 players left out of 16 players. That's what people are not taking into account. So they only 50% of the players will be left. And even if a Cookout member is to go home next week, making a Cookout player go home 8th, is that there will be 44% of the players left. So people are just not taking into account the actual numbers of their technicality they want to hang on to, that the Cookout is not the most successful alliance in the history of this goddamn show. And they've done it without an actual steamroll. A steamroll implies that there's just a big alliance dominating challenges. Nobody could fight against them, similar to Hateful in BB23, similar to the committee last season, who just won everything and nobody could combat that. The Cookout has only had the power 40% of the time, counting both HOHs and vetoes. They have just used a very great game of manipulation to get their pawns to do bidding for them. And they've done it brilliantly. But that is the other thing people are not taking into account: the number of people in these alliances. The Brigade had 4, and once Matt was eliminated, it was 3 Brigade versus 3 non-Brigade, making up 50% of the game. If a cookout member goes home next week, it's still 5-2, and they make up 71% of the game. If a cookout member goes home the week after that, if that's the first time a cookout member goes home at Final 7, they still make up 83% of the game. The cookout has dominated, for better or for worse. And the white fans just go cry about it on Facebook. The cookout has been the most dominant alliance, the most successful alliance to ever play this game. The white players for so long had these big white alliances while the black players have perfected that gameplay this season. And furthermore, if you need more stats to accept the truth, the Brigade lost Matt on night 55. Meanwhile, Tuesday night was night 56, and all cookout members still remain. So I hope Redditors drowned in their tears, because people either have to accept the actual facts and all the technicalities, or just live in grand delusion. Just be delusional then. But let's move on to actual going-ons in the live feeds. There was a moment on Monday when Alyssa told Claire that she's basically on an island because she's the only white person left. And that kind of annoyed Xavier at the time. He was saying, Alyssa's going to have to go. She's doing shit like that, which works for Azza because Azza's been plotting Alyssa being the next one to go. She does not want the shot to be taken at Claire. She thinks it needs to be Alyssa, and she's right. For a lot of players in the Cookouts games, weakening Xavier is the way to go, especially if they could keep Xavier on board if Alyssa keeps doing shit. I didn't do an update on Monday because I wanted to talk Survivor, or an update for Monday. So if you don't know, Hannah did take Xavier off the block, and since he was the third nominee, nobody else goes up. I mean, that could be used as something else for Xavier's resume. That's why more people need to realize he is the biggest threat to win. I do think players are realizing that, but the question is, will they do something about it? And then there's Azza and her crush on Xavier, which can sometimes get old. I do feel like it hasn't hurt her game any, as much as fans might want it to say that it has, because she didn't keep Derek X. No. Azza's game has always been well and good because of her social game. Her social game has gone far. At this point, not enough to win, but there's still plenty of time to build a resume. Tashawn on BB Ken 9 didn't build his resume until the very end of the fucking game. But I do think some of the crushes this season have just gotten old, like Oz's crush on Xavier. Xavier simping for Alyssa all the time is just awkward. A lot of crushes this season. But speaking of Alyssa and Xavier, Hannah's been working her social game very well. Her and Alyssa made a final 2 in a way, and possible final 3 with Xavier. And the two women have discussed if they get to final 3, they got to cut Xavier. They can't be taking Xavier to the end. So I do like that people are thinking that Xavier needs to go if you plan on winning this game. Hannah, though, sometimes I fear she does too much. I don't know where to stand. Her social game has gotten better and better as the game went on, for sure. But she is a chatty Cathy. She just tells everybody a lot of things. She's always trying to tell people what they want to hear. And it's working for her right now, but it could easily blow up in her face. She's in a good spot right now, though, but we know in these games that could change pretty fucking quick sometimes. So she just needs to make sure that doesn't blow up in her face if she's telling a bunch of different people different things. Especially on Tuesday, the past 24 hours, she's just been telling people a lot of different things. She's been making that deal with Alyssa, she's done a good job of playing Xavier and Kylan against each other, as has Tiffany. Those two have been working the men a lot this week. But I just feel like she tells people in the cookout different targets sometimes. Like she'll tell Xavier that Kylan needs to be cut, and she'll tell Kylan that Xavier needs to be cut, or that Ozza should go first. She'll tell that to Kylan. She'll tell Ozza a different target. And it's just like, if people in the cookout actually talk about it, it could just blow up in Hannah's face. It really depends on the other communication of the cookout. Tiffany was trying to play Kylan as well to say that Derek F needs to go first of the 6. She says that if Derek F is in the final 3, she would take Derek F to the end over anyone. And I think that's true for anybody in the cookout, that if Derek F is in the final 3, doesn't win, why would you not take him to the end? So she's trying to convince Kylan that Derek F needs to go, and then they could vote out Xavier as well. And then it's Kylan versus the 3 girls. And if he can't win, then that's on him. I mean, trying to play up on his ego, because Kylan thinks he is the challenge beast of the season. He is certain that he is. But I do like that the women have been working this week, knowing that some of the cookout guys need to go first. It's just a matter of, when do they take this shot? Do they try to get Claire to final 7 and hope Claire takes that shot? We will see how it goes. The players in the cookout are really trying to jockey for a position now and plan their final 3s and final 2s. But it's a lot still to go, especially if there's going to be a triple. Do any of these talks really even matter? But I mean, I guess it is good they're talking about this if there is a triple, in hopes that they could set something up that they want to set up. But the week is going a little slow. That's really all. Until next time, we'll see if there is anything to update on Wednesday, but nothing big seemingly changing. Sarah Beth going home, and then it just matters who wins the next HOH.